Welcome to PreciousMetalsInvesting.com. My name is Ted Sudol, and I have the pleasure of having as my guest today Charlie Nados. Charlie is a senior market strategist at LaSalle Futures Group. Today we're going to be discussing silver, gold, oil, vaccines, and what it means for the precious metals investor.
Silver's definitely outpacing gold on the recovery. Or the bounce off of silver's bouncing off the bottom, gold is not. Let's put it that way. Well, I saw prior to the Reddit crowd, which happened on Monday, and we put in our highs above 30 in silver. I thought silver had a pretty good technical makeup prior to that. We had come in, we had spent a couple of days consolidating above the 20-day moving average, and then you had the gap and go trade on Monday in silver, where we had traded above 30. The exact high that day was, it was a crazy day, 30.35. We ended up settling at 29.35. Followed Tuesday, big day of profit taking, again coming back and testing the major moving averages. We had bounced off of the 10-day moving average on the downside and closed a little bit off of that. Yesterday, we actually closed higher on the day and consolidated, which I think is constructive. And again, we've been fighting really a higher dollar is, I think, a lot of the impetus behind this trade. You've seen some pretty good dollar short covering throughout the week. And then today's price action for silver, Ted, we came down, tested the 20-day hold, we ran a few stops through it. Right now, we're sitting back on the 10-day moving average. So in a long and a roundabout way, we're about back at the levels that we were at last Friday, prior to this whole deal. So basically, silver came down, held on to the 20-day moving average today, which I think is pretty constructive here, again, with the work that the dollar has done. Comparatively, if I look at gold, gold struggled the week to get back above the 200-day moving average, and has continued to put in lower lows and lower highs throughout this week.
And what do you see ahead for silver? Silver did hold up better. Do you see it staying the same, going up?
I think tomorrow is going to be a big day in both these markets, as well as the dollar. We've got a jobs report coming up. A lot of the focus in the dollar strength today was on the weekly jobless claims numbers that came in a little bit more positive. In other words, they were looking for a little over 800,000 new jobless claims, and it came out at was about 779,000. So again, a little bit better in terms of the jobless claims that were filed this week. We have the monthly report coming up tomorrow, and I've heard a pretty wide swath of guesses for it. But I'd venture to say if you have better than expected numbers, that could see the dollar strength continue, and I think that might put some pressure on the precious metals in tomorrow's session.
Since we're sort of sliding into the politics area, what do you see as Biden's effect on the precious metal prices and the markets in general?
On the markets in general, I think that, let's put it this way. A lot of people going into the election were talking if Biden was elected that we'd see a massive break in the stock market, which we haven't. We've seen more dollar strength, as the administration has been in. So, again, I think that the economy is responding to their plan, and let's see what type of a stimulus package that you can actually get through, or if the Democrats do push this through without Republican support, we could be in quite a conflicting political environment.
Well, I think that the markets are responding well to the Democrats' plan, but as we've discussed in prior calls, there is a lot of money being pushed out there that may lead to inflation.
I think you're seeing that, Ted, and I think you're seeing that in the energies, and I think that you're seeing that in the foodstuffs. So, again, as we move closer to the spring and to, people getting out and about, and again, more vaccines getting in people's arms, I think that you're going to kind of see the effect of cabin fever and the relief from cabin fever, and see people get out and more traveling. An interesting thing that I did note, though, for specifically for the energies, but I think in the economy overall, is the odds are in terms of travel coming back that you're not going to see airline travel come back. But if you look at the amount of driving that we could see, with a lot of people still apprehensive about traveling overseas, but they might drive 200 to 300 miles to their favorite place out of the city, or out into a resort town to visit. Because again, I think people are feeling, people that are in the financial situation to do it are in the situation that they've been in their house quite too long.
But you're right. We did not go to our summer place last year because of the health conditions, and we're planning on driving out now, which is going to be a mammoth job, but it certainly seems a better alternative than flying, because they're still unsure of how to properly implement the regulations that are being promoted, and then you read that they're being applied by the various airlines to different degrees of completeness.
Yeah, I haven't been on a plane since this, and I'm not looking at getting on a plane in the near future. Again, I think there's a lot of unknowns out there. I'd like to get out, and again, I think that that's why this vaccine program is important. I think the more shots that we get into people's arms, the more confidence that you're going to have, and the more kind of animal spirits that you'll see in the economy once people feel safe to put their toe in the water, let's say.
I agree with you. A lot of people, a lot of Republicans are saying open up for the economy, and I really think vaccinate for the economy, because if people vaccinate, they'll feel more confident in coming out.
No, I agree with you, in the sense that I think that regardless, more vaccines equal more confidence, and I think more confidence is quite frankly what we need here. Again, we're hearing a lot of different stuffs on mutations, different variations of the virus, but the one thing that we do know is that the vaccine that they have produced, the efficacy rates are rather high, and I signed up to get mine as soon as I could get it. If I could get it today, I would.
Well, I hope you get it soon, because I think everybody should be protected from this virus. It's kind of frightening when you look at the statistics and when they tell you how many new cases they had yesterday or how many new deaths they had yesterday.
Right. It is, and you get numb to the numbers. I mean, they get just so big, and well, they've gotten so big that it's just crazy to think that on a daily basis we've kind of become numb or immune to hearing these. And this is a very real situation with very real people affected. So again, I think that the science has got us to where we're at, and I'm hopeful that logistically we'll be able to get these and start to move more towards a normal life sometime over the summer.
You mentioned oils, and I saw in the newspaper in the Times today that most of the major big oil companies posted enormous losses this past year. I agree with you that there will be more driving, but it takes a lot of cars to equal the amount of fuel that a jet plane uses. So I don't know if that's going to help them that much.
Ted, I agree with you, and that's exactly the point that I was trying to drive home, talking about where usage is going to be, that you'll see the gasoline usage pick up, but you won't see the jet fuel usage pick up. And that's kind of why I think that again, to get the economy going and coming closer to hitting on more than half of the cylinders, let's put it that way, that we do need to see the airline industry open up, and we do need to see, that travel to see the demand meet the supply in crude oil. They have been refining for gasoline. Gasoline usage has been pretty good, and I look for that to continue to pick up, and we've kind of seen that in prices. So again, keep an eye on what's going on with with the vaccine in terms of in terms of that, in terms of the oil. I think that could affect it in a great way if we do start seeing people come out, and that would be first reflected in the gasoline, and as you see those gasoline numbers continue to rise, or gasoline usage numbers, excuse me, I should qualify that, continue to rise.
So if you were going to look ahead for what's going to happen in the markets for the next month, what would your crystal ball projections be?
Well, I'm going to say, I'll just bring it back home to the metals here, Ted. The news cycle here is just so fast and so rapid these days. It's hard to say in a month, but in terms of looking for the trade into next week, I think tomorrow's employment report could set the tone for a lot of markets going into next week. No, I had just said, Ted, it's hard. The news flow has been so fast and furious. It's really hard to give you an idea of where I think things are going over the next month. I think the trends have remained pretty strong in the precious metals, but specifically for the trade here, I think tomorrow's employment report is going to set the tone for the trade going into next week.
Thank you very much, Charlie, for being with us today on PreciousMetalsInvesting.com. I'd like you to talk a little bit about yourself, your strengths, and also a little bit about LaSalle Futures Group. And finally, if someone who is listening to this podcast wanted to get in touch with you, what would be the best way?
I'm a senior account strategist at LaSalle Futures. I concentrate a lot of my efforts on the grain markets, on metals markets, as well as the stock indices. I do futures. I do not do stocks. I focus also a lot of my work on technical analysis. I do follow the fundamentals very closely in the grains and the metals. But in terms of trading, I think that the charts really tell a lot. Numbers drive markets. Numbers drive your equity. So in terms of managing risk, I do like to look at the charts, looking at risk to reward ratios. I do a lot of trading in options. Generally in options trades that I'm looking at minimum at risking 1 to try and make 3. In terms of LaSalle Futures, we are a boutique brokerage firm, and by that I mean we have a wide range of clients. I have clients anywhere from hedging needs in grains, hedging needs in the energies, to people that are trading metals markets and grain markets, as well as the indices through options, looking at, again, limited risk option trading strategies. Not to say that I don't trade futures, but the bulk of my trade is in the options. To reach me at LaSalle Futures Group, my email, which I'm sure Ted probably will put on here, is cnedos@LaSalle Futures Group. And I can be reached via phone at 312-818-1895.
Thank you very much, Charlie, for being with us today.
Thanks for having me, Ted. I always enjoy talking with you here at PreciousMetalsInvesting.com. You have a great evening.
Okay, you have a great evening too, Charlie. Thanks for visiting us today on PreciousMetalsInvesting.com. You can visit the website itself, PreciousMetalsInvesting.com, and get more tips and ideas and techniques for investing in precious metals. This podcast will be available for Android users on Google Play. It'll be available for Apple users on iTunes, and it is also now an Alexa skill, so you can add it to your flash briefing and simply say, Alexa, play my flash briefing, and you'll hear the latest from Precious Metals Investing Update.